you know, like a lion was chasing his ass, right? You know what I'm saying? Like chasing a gazelle. I thought I was watching National Geographic. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, damn, this is just crazy. You know, from that aspect, that was the only thing I was in there. I was just like, damn. You know, if he lands one of them right hands, he might kill him. He might kill him. You know, and when he landed that right hand, man, that broke that damn jaw, man. Wow.
You were supposed to stop punching me when I hugged your leg, remember? I was gonna Venmo you. You were supposed to stop. I can't.
Ow, son!
Imagine making $94 million, but you can't even open your mouth to celebrate because your jaw is wired shut. That is Jake Paul's reality right now. While fans argue about whether the fight was real or just a circus, former world champion Tim Bradley dropped a shocking take. Bradley didn't describe a normal boxing match. He described a hunt. He compared it to a National Geographic scene, a lion chasing a gazelle. Behind the big Netflix show and huge numbers, Bradley says something much darker was happening inside that ring.
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a two-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, you know, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, like it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
For years, people have questioned influencer boxing contracts. There have been rumors about no knockout clauses and protected opponents in past fights. Bradley says this fight was different. According to him, there were no safety rules this time. No protection. Anthony Joshua was free to fight like a real heavyweight. And the moment that happened, the gap in skill became obvious. This wasn't about hype anymore. Jake Paul was finally in a fight where nobody was there to save him if things went wrong.
I didn't know if this fight was going to be a real fight or not, you know. See, you know, it's really important for you to really pay attention to what a lot of these guys are saying. So, you know, I saw in the comment section one guy was saying, hey, Tim, you know, they said that this is no rules. So, what you mean this is no rules? You know what I mean? So, like, now the truth is coming out. So, there was probably stipulations in the other fights that he had, you know, in the contract, you know, because they're saying, oh, no rules, meaning, oh, it's all fair game. Hey, Joshua, you can do whatever you want. Like, this is a real fight. So, you know, the previous fights, this just like lets me know that it was set up. A lot of this shit was set up. The Mike Tyson fight, the Chavez Jr. fight, you know, a lot of the fights that he had after he lost to Tommy Fury. But yeah, this is a real fight. This was it wasn't really a fight, to be honest with you. It was not a fight, because Jake ran like a bitch.
Bradley's most viral comment compared the fight to a wildlife documentary. Watching it back, the comparison fits. He described Joshua as a predator who realized his opponent was scared. When AJ feels stronger than the man in front of him, he becomes dangerous. Bradley said Joshua walked Jake down without hesitation, treating him like he didn't belong. Against elite fighters, AJ can be cautious. But against Jake, he showed pure dominance. He sensed fear, smelled weakness, and turned the ring into a hunting ground.
Damn, boy looked like a runaway slave, didn't he? That boy looked like a fish out of water. That boy looked like you know, like a lion was chasing his ass, right? You know what I'm saying? Like chasing a gazelle. I thought I was watching National Geographic. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, damn, this is just crazy. You know, from that aspect, that was the only thing I was in there. I was just like, damn. You know, if he lands one of them right hands, he might kill him. He might kill him, you know. And when he landed that right hand, man, that broke that damn jaw, man. Wow, you know. And Jake Paul didn't go to sleep. That's one tough white boy, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's one tough white boy right there, for real. But anyways, man, that's my thoughts, man. You know, this is what boxing has become. You know, this is what people want to see, I guess.
Many fans noticed Jake looked tired early and assumed he wasn't in shape. Bradley strongly disagreed. He said Jake was physically prepared. The real problem was mental exhaustion. When you're trapped in the ring with someone who can seriously hurt you, your body reacts differently. Your nerves shut down. Bradley compared it to fighting Manny Pacquiao. The fear of what's coming drains you faster than any workout.
You know, one thing that I would say, or at least add to the commentary was, you know, Jake Paul was in shape. He was in tremendous shape. You know, a lot of people looking and saying that because he ran out of gas or whatnot. That wasn't because of he was getting hit with big shots. Nah, that was nerves. That was all nerves. It's like when I fought against Manny Pacquiao, you know, you got to try to avoid that big shot. You know, I didn't move around a whole hell of a lot. But the fact of me trying to anticipate when that big shot is coming or trying to avoid it, man, that's what made him tired. You know, that's what made it was more mental than it was physical, because physically he was ready. You know, you got to understand he had 2 training camps for this. He probably trained 4 months for, you know, not this particular fight, but, you know, he was getting ready to fight against Tank Davis. And, you know, now then he stepped in and, you know, AJ stepped in or whatever. But yeah, he's prepared. I mean, super prepared. He is one of the best strength and conditioning trainers in the world too. So no, it was more so nerves. That's what it was. Think of it as like you know, and then, you know, you put the movement on top of that. You know, you hear us say, a lot of the commentators say that like it's really harder to box and move than it is just come forward.
The jaw-breaking moment came in the 6th round. Joshua trapped Jake in the corner. Bradley said he was yelling at the screen, begging Jake to fight back. Instead, Jake tried to survive. Then Joshua landed a crushing right hand. The impact was brutal. Jake's jaw fractured in 2 places, and his mouth was left bloodied and misaligned. Bradley called Jake tough for staying upright, but also criticized him for running most of the fight. He described it as a contradiction. Brave enough to take the shot, but too scared to truly fight back.
About being a part of the MVP Netflix era, they're getting big paydays in their 50s and 40s. Anderson all of a sudden is having this like revival. He comes across looking great. The knockout was great. The rest of the card, you know, multiple title fights, 5 title fights total, 1 undisputed on the prelims, Baumgartner in the co-main. You got up-and-comers. Like, all of this is good for boxing. And so you'll have people on this Monday say this was a sham, this was, you know, this was a black, you know, all the usual stuff that we predicted they were going to say afterwards, ignoring the fact that boxing is on the biggest platform in the world, Netflix, ignoring the fact that Jake took on the biggest challenge he could possibly take on short notice. After Tank falls through, he goes and he's like, where's Francis? Okay, I'll go for the guy who beat Francis. I'll go for AJ. Ignoring the fact that, you know, I think some people's stock were elevated on the undercard. Some of the fights on the undercard were really, really great. And ultimately, like, there isn't that much to be upset about. There isn't that much to be mad about. Netflix being involved in boxing is great. Jake stepping up and taking Anthony's best shots were great. I don't think Anthony looked bad at all. There were times where I felt like he was headhunting. There were times where I felt like he was like trying to knock him out because I think he wanted to get rid of him. But you have to understand, when you have a guy who's running as much as he did and take shots at him or not for the game plan, that was his best way of surviving. It's like trying to chase a wet duck. You have to get him. And I think Anthony did actually a good job of pinning him into the corner sometimes, cutting off the ring, but it's hard to get a guy who's moving so much, who's clinching you, who's trying to do the antics that he was doing. That was the best.
It's the darkest part. While Jake Paul lay in a hospital bed with titanium plates in his face, his bank account grew by $94 million. Bradley said this made him sick. Jake earned more in one night than champions like Terence Crawford have made over years.